So when solving a two-step equation, my advice is to first draw a line down the center right through the equal sign. And you got to remember, we're keeping it equal. So whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So I look first at my variable. That x right here, I need to get that guy alone by itself on one side. So for now, it looks like the easiest thing right now, it's being multiplied by 3 and they're adding 7 to it. And on the other side, we have a 19. So looks like the easiest thing to do is get rid of that positive 7 first. And the way to get rid of it, because we can't just move it to the other side and put a plus 7 here. We're not allowed to just move something from one side to the other. We need to do the opposite in order to move it to the other side. So we are going to subtract 7. And remember, whatever you do to one side, you're going to do to the other. So we're going to subtract 7 on this side. And the reason we subtract 7 there is because then we create a 0 pair here. A positive 7 and a negative 7 is a 0 pair. It goes away. And the only thing we have left on this side are the 3 x's. Always rewrite your equal sign. And then 19 minus 7 is 12. And now we look at our x, and when a number and a variable are written right next to each other like this, it means they are being multiplied. We have 3 times x. So the opposite of multiplying by by 3 is divide by 3. And we have to do it to both sides. And I want you to start writing, if you haven't already, when you write a divide, I want you to write it as a fraction. Okay, I don't want to see the actual division symbol anymore. So write it as a fraction. And 3 divided by 3 right here is 1, but we don't write 1x. We just write the x, bring down the equal sign, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And we know we're done because the x right here is by itself and it's positive. And that's how we know we are done solving for x. The x is alone and positive. So x equals 4. (5h plus 4 equals 19). First thing I'm going to do is draw that river, some people call it, or that line down the middle. I'm going to wait and take care of this 5 in just a moment. The first thing I'm going to take care of is this positive 4. The opposite of a positive 4 is a negative 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. This is going to give me a 0 pair right here, a positive 4 and a negative 4. And it leaves me with 5h equals 19 minus 4 is 15. And now when they write 5 and h right next to each other, it means they're multiplying by 5. So I am going to divide both sides by 5. And my 5's reduce to 1, so I'm left with 1h, or just h equals, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. H equals 3 is my answer. G minus 1 equals 13. So I'm going to draw my river. And the first thing I'll take care of is that negative 1. The opposite of a negative 1 is a positive 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. This is going to create a 0 pair here. And that leaves me with 7D on this side. Bring down my equal sign. 13 plus 1 equals 14. And when 7 and D are written right next to each other, it means 7 times D. The opposite of multiplying by 7 is dividing by 7. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7. This is going to reduce 7 divided by 7 is 1D. So I'm left with positive D equals 14 divided by 7 is 2. D equals 2 is my final answer. G minus 13 equals 3. I'm going to draw that river. I'm going to take care of the negative 13 first. The opposite of a negative 13 is a positive 13. So I'm going to add 13 on both sides. This is going to create a 0 pair here. And negative 13 and a positive 13 cancel out, leaving me with 2G on this side. Bring down the equal sign. 3 plus 13 is 16. And here they are multiplying by 2, so I'm going to divide by 2. And the 2's are going to reduce. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1G equals 16 divided by 2 is 8. G equals 8 is my final answer. 10 equals 7 minus M. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my line down the middle. And this problem is a little different because for the first time today we have our variable on the right side instead of the left side. It does not matter where the variable ends up. So you could end and your variable could be on the right side. It doesn't matter as long as the variable is alone and positive. And I say positive because I know you guys see right here this negative in front of the M. So right now the M is negative, and that is going to come into play a little bit later. So let's just make sure we remember that that M is negative. All right, so we drew our line. Now let's subtract. We got to get rid of this positive 7 here. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. And 10 minus 7 is 3. 3 equals, the 7 and the negative 7 become a 0 pair. And don't forget, we still have a negative M on this side. It helps a lot of my students to think of this as a negative 1M. When you don't see a number there, it's an invisible 1. So now that I've written the 1, hopefully you can see that the M is being multiplied by negative 1. And the opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is dividing by negative 1. So we are going to divide both sides by negative 1. And a positive 3 divided by a negative 1 is negative 3 equals M. So our answer is negative 3 equals M. 11 equals 12 minus q. So we're going to draw that river, and we want the q by itself. And right now, on the same side as the q, we have a positive 12. Some students might think that that's a negative 12 because they see a negative sign right there, but that negative symbol is in front of the q, not the 12. So we are going to get rid of that 12, positive 12, by subtracting 12 from both sides. And that gives us a 0 pair here, and 11 minus 12. Positive 11 minus 12, different signs, so we subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is 12, so my answer is negative, and 12 minus 11 is 1. So we get negative 1 equals, and on the other side we have a negative q. And if it helps to think of this as a negative 1q, that might be easier to realize what we do next. They are multiplying by negative 1, so I am going to divide by negative 1. And a negative 1 divided by a negative 1 is a positive 1. And on this side we have positive q. Q equals positive 1 is the answer.